Hi, lovely people. Welcome to the Grow and Learn podcast. This is your host, Zorina. And today, yet another surprise. I am bringing the topic of esports and gaming, something that I admit I am not acquainted with. It's probably the topic the furthest away from me, but I'm super curious to learn more. I'm welcoming Liam Brown, who is the Corporate Partnership Manager for Knights Esports Group based in Pittsburgh. Hi, Liam. Welcome.
Hi, Zarina. Really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. Liam, what do you do? What is esports? I mean, I feel like I'm jumping in deep waters here. I have no clue what you're talking about. Actually, esports to me sounds like gambling almost. Is it?
Well, here's the thing. It's funny. The gambling and sports betting helps every field that it's a part of grow and evolve. Sports betting in the esports and gaming field is very much at its fledgling state, but esports overall, how I would define it, is the competitive field of gaming that allows people to engage in different video game titles that they thoroughly enjoy at the professional level. And it is a field that, since the barrier to entry is a little bit lower, and also because access to actually viewing the content is so much more accessible. You have live stream platforms such as Twitch, pre-recorded content on YouTube, and TikTok is so accessible. This has caused my field to grow and evolve consistently over the years, and it's allowed for a lot of media coverage, and everybody can be a part of it in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter the age. That's one of the things that I love about the space so much. So that gives a short definition of esports and gaming, a little introduction for some of you and your viewers.
All right. So at the beginning, when we started chatting, this brief introduction, you mentioned that the place where you're based in, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, has a history of having three very famous soccer teams. I am not aware of American football, soccer, none of these. Actually, I'm based in Europe. I apologize for my lack of sports knowledge.
No.
Please educate me.
Right. I mean, well, you're based in Europe, and is hockey a little bit bigger over there?
Yeah, in some countries, yes.
Okay, perfect. So as far as Pittsburgh in general, we categorize ourselves as the city of champions, right? We have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are a professional football team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is a professional hockey team, and then we also have the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is a baseball team, and then we have the Riverhounds, which is a professional soccer team, right? This is a city of a lot of athletic and professional talent. On the athletic side, we have several different sports teams based out of this city. And also we have a professional talent because we have more than five or six schools based in just a 5 or 6 mile radius, which allows for all kinds of different professional startups and also different talent for recruitment, because we're constantly getting an influx of new talent, new motivated people coming to the city and settling into the city after they graduate. So that's what's allowed us as an esports organization to succeed, is that from our founding, we were able to partner up with and start to work with each of these different sports teams and their partners in order to bring up our professional status as a sporting team and also as an organization overall. We are also able to pull from the different talent groups, just as I mentioned, from all the different universities and colleges, to further bring an influx of new talent to our organization, which helps a lot, especially in such an evolving field such as esports and gaming overall. So that kind of gives a background to how we've worked with some of the sports teams. And that's also one of the things that makes us different as a esports and gaming organization as a whole, because what you'll see with a lot of other teams is that they'll just get several very talented individuals at the game together. They'll make a graphic, and then they'll go out and say, we are a team, and we're going to go compete in this game. What makes us a little bit different than that is that our executive board and our founders, they have close to 20 to 30 years of experience in this field from a professional and a management space, right? So it is as if one sports entity is comprised of former veterans in that space and MBA graduates, because all of our executive board and our upper leadership, they were professional esports players in the early 2000s, in the late 90s, when this industry was at its start. And then what they did was they competed at the highest level, and they went on to pursue higher education, MBA graduates. And then they went back into this space and they said, hey, how can we make this space better? How can we elevate it? So that's one of the things that makes us different from our founding, because we have industry veterans who went back, got educated, came back, and also brought in more people. Case in point, the Steelers and the Pirates, who we work closely with currently. So a little bit of background on the Knights and kind of why we chose to stay here.
I kind of get it, but not entirely. So
perfect.
When you yes, there comes my next question. When you recruit sports people and graduates from sports related subjects and sports management or whatever, how do they exactly contribute to your company? Because esports is basically like a computer game, isn't it? Like if I were to take the image of somebody and play hockey of a player, I am not actually this. I mean, does it matter that you're recruiting somebody really famous in hockey in real life, physically, when it comes to esports?
Yes. So we look at a couple of things when recruiting. So we have two sides to our recruitment. One is going to be the staff on the inside that are going to work towards, like me, towards corporate partnerships, handling all of the content and social media on the side, or from a leadership perspective, handling admin and operations, just like any other company.
Yeah.
On the other side, which is usually the more interesting part to a lot of people, is going to be the talent side, which you just referenced, right? So when we're recruiting different talent or professional players, we have we have 4 different teams right now. We compete in 4 different esports. So any esport or any competitive landscape is going to be comprised of a bunch of different titles. In esports, it's going to be we compete in iRacing, Madden 2023, Rainbow Six Siege, and different fighting games. So Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. So those in and of themselves are different esports. So it's the Knights act as one organization that owns several different sports teams, right? This is if one organization owned a rugby team, a football team, a hockey team, right? So
the first 3 esports that you mentioned out of the 4, they're not traditional sports. They're specifically designed for the eSpace industry.
Right. So, well, with the exception of Madden, Madden is a game specifically about American football. It is one of the most popular and foundational sports games, really in gaming and gaming history overall. Right. So we have that. We have iRacing. iRacing is one of the most realistic sports, esports, because you have all the different competitors consistently creating these large setups, and I can send you a couple of pictures after this. It's really interesting, but they'll spend $10,000 to $20,000 to create a setup in their living room or in their gaming room, which perfectly emulates driving a race car. It's got the shock systems on the back. It's got all the different pulleys and mechanisms in a professional sports vehicle. So then what they're able to do is they're able to just run races after races after races all day. And what this does is it creates a much higher acumen and higher skill set than you might see in traditional racing, because they're just able to consistently run races all day. They're not constricted to, okay, well, I have to change the tires. I have to log in my time at the racetrack. I have to coordinate with my road crew and my pit crew, right? So that's a little bit of iRacing. We covered Madden. Rainbow Six Siege is it's very gritty team-based combat where you're going into a specific area, you're blasting through walls, you're trying to rescue hostages. It's a military type shooter game. And then in fourth, it's going to be your more traditional fighting games such as Mortal Kombats and Street Fighters. A lot of people know those games because one, they made headlines, and two, they're pretty brutal. It's just going to be two players going together side by side on a fighting screen, right? When you look at esports organizations, all of them are going to have multiple different teams on their overall roster in order to not only gain visibility to each audience demographic. This, not every hockey fan is the same as a rugby fan. Not every cricket fan is the same as a baseball fan, right? It's a bunch of different psychologies and different demographics that apply to each team, to each game that you're watching or competing in. But also it allows esports organizations to provide placement for their partners and their sponsors to a bunch of different audience demographics. And when you live in data as much as we do, we like to look into that and see how best can we go into each title that we compete in, act as a leader in the space, or simply compete in that space, right? So that kind of gives you a frame of reference for our overall structure from a competitive standpoint. But kind of to circle back to your original question about recruiting, on the talent side, we look at several different things. First of which is going to be your skill at the game in question. Obviously, you want to recruit players and talent that are skillful at that game, because you want to make championships, and if you can't make championships, you want to be at the top level of competition. Number two, you're going to look at the overall social following. We exist in a digital space and a digital age overall, and the social following is very important because those fans, hypothetically, are going to be our fans when you join our organization. And then number three, this one's also very important, is how do they interact with the fans? Are they controversial during streams? Do they have a loud mouth? Do they trash talk? How are they during interviews, right? We want somebody that's going to emulate our values and also be able to speak to a wider fan base from their behavioral standpoint, right? So that's what we go for, and that's what we look for when in talent acquisition, mainly.
All right, so you're acquiring talent to form teams and you have audience. So you're basically recreating the exact same thing that happens on a stadium.
Exactly, except we're not held hostage to just physical events and physical stadiums. In esports, this is why esports was able to continue to progress even during COVID, because we're able to host events and competitions for prize money and with the same amount of talent virtually and electronically. Esports and gaming overall also allows different people to connect and form friend groups and friendships through a common interest. Just like any interest, you go down to a beer and wine tasting, and you're able to meet people of the same interest as you, right? Esports and gaming is much the same as any other interest point, right? And not only do we have the teams themselves, but as an organization, we're also able to bring on individual influencers that might live stream in several different games, and their personality is what's attractive, and we'd also pull that under our talent umbrella as well.
So give me a scope of a size of the whole, not of the entire esports, but maybe of your company. What is the approximate following and the approximate subscriber number that you currently have? Just to have an idea of how big this whole thing is.
Right. So with our size as an organization is not just limited to follower count, but it also takes into account what we do as an organization to fulfill esports and gaming for many other different organizations and people. So I'll let you in on some of the things that we're doing that allows us access to even wider networks than our current. So we have our largest following on Twitter. I think we have close to 40,000 followers on Twitter. We have close to 20,000, 30,000 on Instagram. We also have we have thousands of followers on Twitch, but the biggest part for us is not just the follower count, but also the experiences we're able to create for gamers and people who are new to esports overall, and also to different esports teams. So what drove us to do that is acting as a leader in the space from an events and league standpoint. We're one of the only esports teams to regularly run live competitive events on our own live stream and on our own home arena. So every sports team has their own home stadium. We're no different. Ours is on Twitch, and it is a completely virtual home stadium. It's our Knights Arena. There, we regularly host monthly and bi-monthly events in video game titles such as Valorant, Rocket League, Apex Legends, CSGO. And what is interesting there is that just like any other sporting event, you're not just, we control all the brand messaging, advertising, direct messaging to fans via the live Twitch chat. We don't just control the visibility for our fan base. We also control the visibility of brands for all of the other teams that come to compete on our stage, right? So for each event, let's say let's say the recent Valorant gauntlet that we held over the course of April, 16 different teams, if I'm not mistaken, 16 different esports teams came to compete on our stage for not only bragging rights, but also prize money. And this is all officially sanctioned by all the creators of these games, the developers, in this case, Riot Games, because Riot Games developed and created Valorant. Most of your viewers might know their other game, League of Legends, which is massive. So on our Knights Arena, we're able to host other professional organizations to compete on our stage. And then the real kicker right now is Valorant is currently one of the top esports in the world. It's a fast-paced, team-based shooter. Several different heroes compete for the ability to plant the spike on the other team's area of the map, and then they have to let it blow up. So one team is defending, the other is attacking. Smaller maps, these gritty, like different superpowers that each character has. Right now, Valorant is the top esport in the world, and there is several different leagues. All right, I want you to stay with me. So the top league is based over in Iceland, but each continent has to compete to bring talent into that league. We're running the entire league for all of North America for Valorant. We're running the entirety of the Valorant North America Challengers League, which is what it's officially called. And that's as if one soccer team was running the entire professional league in America, Canada, and Mexico for the World Cup finals, right? And we had one team representing all of North America, and one sports team in America was tasked with running everything. Now, since we're running everything, not only do we have access to all of this sponsorship, but for this, so we're running the event overall as far as viewership and engagement. It far exceeded our original anticipated numbers by 700%. So over the course of this year alone, our organization has been able to generate from the Valorant Challengers League, our Knights Arena, our organization as a whole, we're able to generate over 60 million impressions and also 500,000 concurrent viewers on our live stream in this year alone, in the first 5 months of this year, right? So that kind of gives you a size and scope of not only how big this is, but also how many people are tuning in and viewing when they're at work, when they're hanging out with their friends. People are hosting live watch parties on platforms such as Discord and just hanging out with their friends and watching and engaging with the sponsors. Esports and gaming is one of the most accessible and interactive sports because from a live stream perspective, you're able to message back and forth with the event as it's going, and also message back and forth with other users. That kind of gives you an idea of the size and scope of our organization and kind of the space overall.
How big is your organization in terms of employees?
That's a really good question. As far as staff goes, there's about 30 of us.
30.
There's about 30 of us split up over broadcasting, advertising and marketing. The advertising and marketing team really handles a lot of the content creators and negotiations from there. We have coaches, we have, and then there's my department, the partnerships team, where we will go out and try to find relevant brands that want to work with us and also who want access to this wildly, I don't want to say profitable, but this insanely profitable audience group of gamers and esports fans. So we're a very lean organization when you think of what we do and versus how many people actually work for us. Yeah,
I see. Yeah, and so what kind of sponsors or advertisers usually come to you? Who would advertise to this target group?
Right. So on the surface level, what we've seen in esports and gaming is the typical ones such as fast food and energy drinks and soda and beverages. So what we've done is we've worked with local convenience stores. We've worked with Coca-Cola. We've worked with when Coca-Cola was debuting their Coke Energy, that was debuting in a bunch of different department stores. We've worked with those, but one of the things that we're also bringing into the space is stuff that people wouldn't think of: banking and finance, investing applications for people, because let's face it, esports and gaming has a wide availability for whoever wants to not only participate but also engage with it. So that viewership tends to skew a little bit younger, and these people would like to engage in I mean, nowadays a lot of they would like exactly financial tech. So banking, fintech, we got cryptocurrency and different food companies, meal prep companies, everyone that wants access to a genuinely higher income audience demographic, that once they experience a brand and understand that that brand is trying to grow the space that they are heavily interested in, that they want to be a part of that space. So if you could lay out any kind of industry with aside from the more the crazier ones, such as perhaps firearms, they can all be a part of esports and gaming overall. It's just about how are we going to find the right connections for it, right? So one of the things that we're looking at as an organization, and one of the things that I've brought to the team, is going after health and wellness brands and health and from sleep optimization to healthier food options to working out and generalized fitness. Because one of the things that we've seen is that with the intervention of greater when greater nutrition is taken into account, and also anaerobic and aerobic exercise and weight training, the performance goes through the roof as far as when you're going into competition. So we'd like to approach that, because at the highest level in the professional space, Serena, these esports athletes are training just as if they were professional basketball players, soccer players. Their brain connectivity has to be at the utmost level, because they're constantly darting their eyes across the screen. They have to have their attention spans have to be there. So that kind of gives you a frame of reference.
I'm very happy you mentioned this, because there are actually studies done on that people doing mental exercises in meditation, they perform just as well with 1% difference to people that are actually physically training it. Yeah,
a lot of esports studies come out of Europe, specifically in Germany, and also different esports organizations here in the States. What we're looking at is the intervention of meditation, healthy habits, because when you look at esports overall, the age of competition, right? One example I always go to is Guga, who won at the age of 16, won the Fortnite World Championships. And that he was at the age of 16, and then you look up and there's other competitors that are in their mid-20s, right? This is your age of competition in esports is short. And with the intervention of healthy and developing healthy habits, nutrition, exercise, you're able to prolong your career and further grow your following, grow your talent associated with the esport, or perhaps you could move laterally and move into a different gaming title, right? So that that's kind of some of the misunderstood parts, is that health and fitness is very important to the professional level, and I'd like to extend that to gamers overall and esports fans overall, right?
How many years is the average career of a professional esports player?
I've seen players begin at the age of 18 and go on until their mid 20s. I've seen some only span a year, because from the success that they've experienced, they start to engage in unhealthy habits, right? So I would say around 4 to 8 years is the average, and from there, what you can do is you can pivot and go into a corporate position on the gaming development side. You can start to handle, because what it does, because while your competitive career may be a little bit shorter, you learn the skills necessarily for team management, social media coordination. You're able to take those skills and go to corporate positions, right? And you're able to move into different other categories easier than if you were to pursue a career in traditional sports, I feel, right? There's a wealth of examples of different professional athletes going and retiring and not necessarily doing anything in that sport, and not necessarily doing a lot with their lives. But in esports and gaming, it's a little bit different, because you're able to pivot to more positions. And since esports and gaming, the skill set involved is not just playing, it's also, we need people in this space: marketing, law, copywriting, right? We need many different skill sets in the space in order for it to grow. And there's constantly teams and developers and different organizations in the space looking for new applicants always, right? So that's the career length, and then also that's where you can go after.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see that you also have your YouTube channel. Is this your private esports channel as a competitive player, or is it a part of your corporate job?
The URL I sent over?
Let me see what it's called.
So a lot of the
Pittsburgh Knights. Pittsburgh Knights.
Yeah, so I wanted to, so that is from a professional standpoint. We always want to be engaging with the audience, and one of the easiest ways for us to engage with the audience is through different content platforms. And YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, even LinkedIn allows us to further engage with a variety of different audience groups. Right now we're putting in some more resources into short form content to enabling us to go after the Instagram Reels, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts audiences who want to swipe and they want to look at something interesting. And that's some of the content that we've been producing most recently. I talk to the social guys a lot, and they love it. They love brainstorming new ideas of fun stuff to create. And then when they see all the different notifications of people interacting, and because of where we are in the industry, we have a relatively higher engagement rate than others. So we're trying to be actively engage. We try to actively engage with our audience, from DMing them back or responding to their comments and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Plus, making content's like so much fun. I've been if you look at the Instagram and you scroll down a little bit, I'm in some of their videos, right? So it's just something fun to do.
And so what exactly do you do as a corporate partnership manager?
So as a corporate partnerships manager, what I look at is, first off, I manage all the I look at all of our different spreads of our current partners and sponsors, and I look at how we can integrate them into all the cool stuff that we have going on this year, and how we can authentically engage with our audience through them. And so that is what I do with our standing partners. And then on a further down the line next year, I'm constantly looking at different ways that we can integrate new partners into our current plan, and also analyze the trends of where gamers are spending their money and where gamers want to spend their money, and how we can incorporate those brands into that daily life and their habits overall, right? So that's led me into some really cool conversations coming up with different people, and also cooler conversations in the past. And it's given me not only a lot to think about from a personal standpoint, but also it's given me a lot to think about from a gamer perspective, because like I came into this space having a collegiate level education, but also actively engaging in gaming since the age of 11, right? So I'm constantly looking at what is now my work is something that I used to do for fun, and I used to watch different and read different articles about new game releases of this year, and I used to think like, okay, well, how can I what do I do while I'm doing this? So it from the products that I actively buy, from the products that my friends actively engage in, or services that we engage in, integrating those into and exposing them to more people is one of the things that I actively looked at in my day-to-day, right?
Mm-hmm. Is there a mental health protection that you place on your product somehow, some sort of a break, especially for younger people?
Yes. So that is something that's very important to us. So from a talent perspective and from an inside perspective, that's one thing that we enforce with all of our talent and athletes. We do encourage them to engage in exercise, or when you join on with us, we want to take a full section of time to divert to how we can be of service to the talent and the different players, and then we coordinate with them as far as schedule goes. It's like, okay, well, we're going to practice from this time to this time, but this time you have a break, right? So you're going to get out of the house, you're going to go out. We take full account of where they live, like what kind of areas they live, if there's parks in that area, right? So that we do take mental health into a huge consideration on the professional team and talent side, as well as with our staff, right? We are a virtual company that wants everybody to be performing at their best, no matter what role they're in. If they're with us, then then that's something that matters first and foremost, right? And that is allowed for a lot more fluidity as far as conversations go internally. It allows everyone to come into their task or each meeting with a fresh face and a fresh mindset. Every meeting that they go in, I don't care if I'm in meetings all day, and it's happened. I'll have like 5 minutes of time in between each, and I'll be going from 9 a.m. in the morning to 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and just the way that we run things, it's less stressful than other corporate entities that I would say that exist. So mental health is very much important, and it's becoming a bigger conversation in esports and gaming overall, because when you look at how different organizations run things, or you look at the talent or how they treat talent, there's a lot that are left burnt out, or there's a huge lack of sleep problem going on in esports, because
It's very addictive as well. So
exactly it is. Because if you look at it from a scientific perspective, there is constantly gratification and validation going on the screen. You are receiving all of these different dopamine hits when you commit a high score, when you take down several enemies, all these different things, and you want to constantly chase that. And what they want to chase that feeling, and then also they want to perform at their best, because there are so many eyes on them from an audience perspective, from the casters and commentators during the event constantly watching their view, and also the people at home that are looking at their view and studying it, right? So it's from that perspective, when you have so many eyes on you, and anybody in that position can relate to that kind of stress, right? So and yeah, from an addiction standpoint, that is a real, that's something real. So that's one of the things that we take into account when we bring in new athletes or talent as well.
So how about when it comes to people that you haven't recruited as talent, but that are on your subscription, I suppose, that are using your product as recreational.
Yeah.
Products.
So what's advantageous about the our product, right? So as far as our product, we mainly operate within two categories: straight to consumer with our live streams, our events,
Mhm.
our leagues, and the content that we put out. That's for the consumers. From a services standpoint, to other businesses that want to gain access to the content and the visibility that we generate for such a captivated audience. Um, right, so for those people, that's going to be a little bit different. So as far as what's advantageous for the consumer is that they're able to actively engage with our content and do everything else that you need to do during the day. You can watch the live streams or engage with our content while you're at work or while you're at the gym. I've seen people who are just watching our live streams as they're doing spreadsheets and they're working, right? And then from on the business side, you know, that that is where we'll take into account different campaigns and how unique or out of scope the project is for what dates and for what length of time, and from there we'll perceive different pricing because we just like any other organization, we know what we're going to charge. Or if we don't know what we're going to charge just yet, well, how about this? I'm going to go back with a creative team, find out, and then we move very fast. We'd like to keep people constantly in the loop of communication, right? So I have I have like certain current prospects on a private messaging app called Discord,
Yeah.
right? So I'm constantly able to communicate with them outside of office hours, on the weekends, or in the earlier mornings, right? So that kind of puts in the scope the business and consumer side of our business.
Yeah, my question was more towards the mental health when it applies
Mhm.
to the gaming part. That's what I meant. People that subscribe to the gaming, not the
Mhm.
esports viewers, but the ones who actually want to participate. So, is there
Mhm.
some sort of a limitation for the number of hours they use it, or do you apply this only to the talent and
So
staff?
so as far as the people at home that are viewing, is that what you mean?
No, the viewers buy their tickets and they view, I suppose, or
Oh,
whatever
no, no,
subscription. I mean the
well,
gaming.
okay. Well,
Uh,
we
the
don't charge anything for people to come and view our stuff.
ah
Everybody's able to. Yeah. So limitations for so people that game at home, like, what
yeah.
is the limitation for them?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Okay. So that clears things up. As far as limitations that exist in the home, there is the it, see that's a multifaceted approach, because what we're trying to inject into the conversation and also into content overall, that there is breaks that you can take and not experience a a and not experience kind of like a lack of growth in your performance in the game,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like if you were to go into the gym, it's important, or engage in physical activity, it's important to take rest times and also
Yeah.
rest days off from that. Unfortunately, right now, when you game in the home, the media that's around the average gamer, and the different voices and concerned people that are telling them to take a break or stuff like that, is in the form of either the parents or the friends that they hang out with. And then from a content and media perspective, when they're engaging with the live stream as they're gaming, right? I've seen this a lot of times. People will watch like Twitch as they're gaming in the same thing, just to see what the pros are doing.
Mm-hmm.
um, and from there, from that content perspective, we try to emulate, you should take a break. What you're seeing right here on the screen is the best of the best, right? So it's realistic to not think that you're going to get to that level in the span of 12 hours of just sitting in the same spot and playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the limitations that exist, it's very much in the the immediate circle of the gamer at home, and also the content that they view, as well as their browsing habits. That can also play a huge role in how in they might see on content that they're scrolling through that there's a new move they want to try, and then boom, they're right back to playing, right? So there has to be a level balance, and I don't think a lot of people understand the importance of that just yet. From a healthy from developing healthy habits, it's a conversation that we're trying to start, and one that needs to keep on going and grow.
Yeah, talking about the future, where do you see esports developing?
Mm-hmm. I see, first off, esports is growing vastly in South America and in Southeast Asia. It's growing the fastest because from a professional standpoint, people are able to game on their phones, and they're able to compete professionally on titles such as PUBG Mobile, which is an arena-based battle royale game where you're able to be the last man standing, and you're able and from with the advent of smartphones and the accessibility of Wi-Fi networks, more and more people are able to get into the space. As far as other places that I see it growing, one place that I'd like to see it grow is virtual reality competitive play, because that takes into account all physical and mental aspects, right? And especially with virtual reality, with the usage of omnidirectional treadmills, people are able to, as they are right now, have a visor on, and they're attached to a mechanism that allows them to sprint and crouch in real time with their physical bodies, and then they're still able to play against other people. So I would like to see esports go into that direction as well, but currently it's growing in the traditional console and PC spaces with new titles that are freemium. Freemium meaning they're free to play at the base level, but it's order to get to the next level, you do want to engage in some of those microtransactions just to make the overall experience better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I see it growing a lot more in South America. Our Rainbow Six team is actually based in Argentina, and a lot of our staff members are from Honduras and Mexico and Brazil. And I also see it growing a lot in Southeast Asia. So it's going to be very interesting to see where those spaces develop from a professional standpoint. And the caliber of talent that we're getting out of those areas of the world is next to none. It's insane, right?
Yeah. I'm really curious how the business model will develop, if it's indeed in virtual reality, whether at some point it would be taken out of the arena and people would be walking around with exoskeletons and whatever, mixing with the crowd.
Yeah, from the money side of esports, it's very much dependent on the brands and the sponsors that want to be involved in the space, because if they want to be involved, they have to grow the space. It's almost mandatory for them to help set up tournaments, provide physical infrastructure for big events, provide digital bandwidth to make sure more people are participating in the event. So with the influx of brands and more sponsors into the space, we're going to see this space grow in a physical and in a virtual sense, right? And from the exosuit side, that's kind of already here, with like there's a brand, shout out to Virtuix. Virtuix is a private company that has for the first time created an omnidirectional treadmill that you're able to have in your living room, so you're able to run in game, you're able to crouch and move around in the game, right? So I think I would like to, it's very, very impressive, like some of the technology coming out into this space, right? So we'll see, and I'm here for it. I'm very excited.
Very cool. Thank you so much for this exciting, engaging, very informative information. I need to keep up with the times as well. My 5-year-old is constantly watching games as well. He's watching all the gamers that you just that you just mentioned already at this age. So I'm, struggling to keep his mental health at this age, that he's not too engaged. But it is that's why it's my questions revolved a lot around mental health and what.
If you're able to, one thing that I do is I have a standing desk. And obviously I'm sitting for the purposes of this interview, because or else I'd be swaying around. But I have a treadmill at home that whenever I game, I just stay on the treadmill. And before you know it, you've gone the length of several missions, or you've gone the length of several quests. I play Skyrim and I play a lot of different Star Wars games. So while I'm trying to figure out the puzzles in game, I'm like, let's go. Like I'm actively like engaging in physical fitness, but I'm still also engaging with something that I truly enjoy, right? The gamification of the experience can take place in many forms. And if your toddler at home wants to play, it's like, okay, cool, just be on the treadmill while you're doing it, and I'll be there with you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's about developing the balance of the fun experience and also the healthy habits surrounding that from an early age, so that by the time they're older, it's like, yeah, my life doesn't revolve around this one thing. It's an interest of mine, and
Mm-hmm.
I can still engage in a healthy life, even if I and in this space, right? So, hey, that's one of my recommendations for anybody getting into the space. It's like, see how much you can do if there's a loading screen in the game, or you're waiting to connect to the network, do push-ups or hold a plank or something like that. So there's a lot of different things you could do. So that's what makes the space so enjoyable for me.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, in the end, everything has a solution. It doesn't need to be all doom and gloom about what it could do, what the esports
Exactly.
and gaming could do to the growing up population.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So Liam, again, where can people find you, and what is up next on Knights Esports?
So for Knights Esports, we just started split 2 of the North American Valorant Challengers League. I would encourage everybody to go. What is the link? It's I have it right here. It's pks.gg/NACL. You're able to see all the different updates for the how the tournament's progressing, press releases, and also you're able to view it right on that website. It'll take you right to Twitch. If you're looking for content there, I'd also recommend you check out some of our socials. We're probably most active on Twitter. We have the domain Knights for most of the social media that we utilize. I don't know how we swung that, because it's like the easiest domain that I would take, honestly, if I was a fan. But I would definitely recommend following me on it, or following up on those different social media platforms, because I'm tagged in a bunch of their different posts. So definitely follow the Knights on socials, and check out the Valorant Challengers League, because that's something we're producing all the time. And check out our Twitch. We're constantly running different tournaments. We have our Sakura Cups coming up, and June. If you're looking for something completely different, we work with the popular rapper Wiz Khalifa and his Taylor Gang. They were one of our first investors, and on June 14th, we're running the entirety of his Wiz and Friends live stream. Right, it's gonna be a fun time of blending rap, fashion, and gaming. Really excited for all the things that are coming up. So, you might even see me on screen. I might go out to LA for that. I'm excited for all the things that we have coming up. So check out the Knight socials, and definitely connect with us there. And yeah, that's probably where I'd recommend people go.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your dedication in explaining this complex environment and the business model and everything. I now have a much broader and deeper view into what exactly esports is. Well, I had none at the beginning, so you managed to really paint the picture in these 50 minutes. Thank you so much, Liam.
Awesome. Thank you, Zarina.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Grow and Learn. We hope that you found our podcast informative, engaging, and inspiring. Our mission is to help you keep growing and learning, and we hope that our conversations and insights have provided you with practical advice and useful perspectives. If you're looking for personalized support and guidance to help you achieve your personal or professional growth objectives, I offer a range of services to help. As a trusted management partner and mentor, I work with businesses in the process of transformation, looking for new streams of business, as well as M&A. With an extensive professional network of experts and mentors, I can bring on board the right person or team based on the specific needs of the company I'm working with. To learn more about the services I offer and how I can help you achieve your goals, visit my website at growandlearn.org. You can also reach out to me via email or social media. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode of Grow and Learn, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us, and it helps us to continue to create content that is relevant and valuable to our listeners. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights and perspectives with you in the future.